Hello Star Wars fans, and welcome to episode 19 of Journey into Legends. Today I'm going to be talking about Champions of the Force by Kevin J. Anderson. Champions of the Force was released in 1994 and is the third book in the polarizing Jedi Academy trilogy. Be sure to check out my last two reviews to hear my thoughts on this trilogy thus far. Despite not being a huge fan of the previous book, I am excited to read this final chapter. Hopefully, Anderson can find a way to bring this trilogy to a satisfying conclusion. Without further ado, let's read and review. Alright, so I just finished the book, and unfortunately for me, this book is just as disappointing as Dark Apprentice was. A combination of bad writing and derivative storytelling turned what could have been a satisfying finale into a simultaneously rushed, yet drawn-out book. Picking up right where the last book left off, Kip Duron has taken control of the Suncrusher superweapon and gone on a crusade across the galaxy to single-handedly destroy the Empire once and for all. Other than the destruction of Karita, this plotline didn't really amount to much besides setting the stage for the final battle in the Maw Installation. I wasn't really interested in this plot very much. Not only is the Suncrusher an unoriginal and uninteresting plot device, but Kip as a character is also made very uninteresting because he's not in control of his actions. After the events of the previous two books, Chewie and Wedge lead an invasion of the Maw Installation. This plotline reintroduces both Admiral Dalla and her fleet, as well as the scientists of Maw Installation led by Director Tol Sivron, who's now in command of the Death Star prototype. Now I have to admit that the final battle that's set up, involving not only Dalla's Star Destroyer, the New Republic, and the Death Star prototype, but also the Suncrusher, was pretty cool. But unfortunately, the rest of this storyline is extremely dull and boring. Nothing interesting happens at the Maw Installation, and a painfully large percentage of this book follows Tol Sivron and the other scientists, characters that I actually grew to despise. Once again, Lando Calrissian shows up in this book just to follow Han on his side quests and go on his own irrelevant, boring journey. And this one is especially stupid. Lando, who's still suddenly obsessed with Mara Jade, goes to Kessel to set up his own spice mining operation. This subplot, which could have been summarized in a sentence or two, is expanded to become a multi-chapter storyline about the gang fighting over the spice mines with Maruth Duel, a villain who I thought died in Jedi Search. This added absolutely nothing to the book, and again, was an extremely boring waste of time. Other than the final battle in the Maw, the first decent subplot to talk about involves our good friend Ambassador Fergan. Him and Turpin are once again up to no good, but after the destruction of Karita, Turpin finds a window to tell Leia about the mind control and the terrible things he's done, including giving Fergan the location of baby Anakin Solo. This then leads to a confrontation on the planet Anoth between Fergan and Winter over Anakin Solo until the New Republic can come to the rescue. Overall, the action in this plotline was decent, and I enjoyed Leia actually giving a crap about her children for once. And finally, I get to talk about something positive. After his confrontation with Exar Kun and Kip in the last book, Luke finds himself suspended in a weird realm between life and death, where his spirit is separated from his physical body. As Exar Kun attempts to destroy Luke's physical body, killing him for good, the students have to fight Exar Kun by themselves. This storyline was actually super fun. Luke's soul leaving his body is super interesting and something we've never seen in Star Wars before, and the fight against Exar Kun was an awesome way to bring the new students together. Unfortunately, I have to get back to the negatives, because this storyline, while good, ended about a third of the way through the book. Exar Kun, who was one of the biggest villains in the trilogy and the catalyst for all of the atrocities committed by Kip Duron, was defeated in Chapter 15 of 44 in this book, which brings up my main problem with it. Overall, the pacing and structure of this book is absolutely horrible. There is no clear 3-act structure, and the book is simply 200 pages of boring meandering and about 100 pages of actual plot progression. Other than the Luke and Exar Kun plotline, this book is dreadfully long and boring. Before I give this book a score, I wanted to compare it to the other books in the trilogy. Without a doubt, Jedi Search is my favorite of the three, but the real contest is between this and Dark Apprentice. Dark Apprentice has at least some semblance of a plot structure, whereas Champions of the Force does not. But Dark Apprentice also has dozens of instances where characters make incompetent decisions and act out of character, something that Champions of the Force has much less of. I think objectively both books are equally bad, but I'm going to give the edge to Dark Apprentice due to Champions of the Force being more of a slog to get through, whereas when reading Dark Apprentice, there was still some fun to be had. I'm going to give Champions of the Force a 67%, putting it much lower than Dark Apprentice's 73% and much, much lower than Jedi Search's 84%. Overall, this trilogy was extremely inconsistent, and it feels as though Kevin J. Anderson went in without a plan for the whole thing. Jedi Search, even though it is my favorite of the three, feels like a prologue to the trilogy, and the other two books have way too much going on. The little subplots have little to no bearing on the rest of the trilogy. Champions of the Force felt rushed, and the ending felt forced, and the trilogy overall didn't have a clear main villain, and it felt like it had a hard time juggling Dala, Exar Kun, and Ambassador Fergan. I did enjoy this trilogy, and I appreciate a lot of what it tried to do. I enjoyed the Jedi Praxium plotlines, and some of the subplots were entertaining, but overall, this trilogy was a mess of poor writing choices and half-baked ideas. I hope you guys enjoyed my review. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned for my next video where I'll be reading and reviewing The Courtship of Princess Leia by Dave Wolverton. See ya.